Hello everyone! Wanna hear me talk about my latest hyperfixation? Alright, you can stop the music. Stop the music! Damn! One Piece's anime is going to turn 26 this year in October. And despite its length, you could argue that One Piece is at an all-time high in terms of popularity. It is still the best-selling manga of all time, 516.6 million copies sold at the time of recording, a little under double the second-place Doraemon's sales. The anime was huge in 2024, with Gear 5's debut breaking Crunchyroll, and to this day it is still in Crunchyroll's most popular anime list, despite not releasing an episode in 6 months. So despite being such an old show, it's at one of its all-time highs. Now, why is that? Well, obviously the story of One Piece is amazing. Oda, over the last 2.5 decades, has created a cohesive and awe-inspiring adventure story. Things are set up and paid off satisfyingly. Characters go through life-altering events and through harrowing character arcs, and the world is built up and feels extremely alive. There's also the more emotional aspects of One Piece, with some of the, and I say this without an exaggeration, tear-jerking scenes I've personally seen in a show. The Mary's death, Usopp and Luffy's fight and subsequent falling out, Luffy's reaction to Ace's death, him realizing he still has his crew with Jinbei, Senor Pink's backstory, Robin realizing she wants to live, and that the Straw Hats care about her. All hit me with an emotional steamroller every time. So the emotions and story make One Piece as great as it is, right? Case closed?
Right? Wrong!
There is one more aspect, more unappreciated than the rest, that makes One Piece as good as it is. That being the comedy. One Piece, as a manga and as a show, is funny as shit. Not just in a, that's a funny joke, like a lot of comedy anime, but genuinely like bust-out laughing comedy. There's, of course, the running jokes that the Straw Hats have, like Zoro getting lost, which makes me laugh, and Brook's bone jokes, which make me laugh, and Sanji's horniness, which fills me with an undying rage. But there's also just generally funny one-off scenes. Highlights including Luffy putting that zombie back in its grave in Thriller Bark, or just Afro Luffy in general, or Frankie fucking Fortnite building, or Usopp's defeat of Sugar stand out especially. But there's one scene that I think perfectly represents not only how funny One Piece can be, but also generally how well-rounded One Piece is writing-wise. That scene being Duval versus the Straw Hats, which takes place in episodes 386 through 389. Before we can get into that, no joke, some context will be required. The context for this scene takes us all the way back to episode 320, shortly after Enies Lobby but before Thriller Bark. The Straw Hats, barring Luffy and Zoro, are receiving their very first bounties. This is the first of many scenes where the Straw Hats get a new bounty and it goes up and the audience gets to see how they've progressed and what they've accomplished. We see Luffy and Zoro's bounty go up, Nami's first bounty, Chopper's first super duper ultra high bounty. Like deadass, his bounty is worth less than like a normal cabbage in this world. Like 3 times less. Robin's having increased. Then we get a close-up of this face. Apparently, the Marine's photographer couldn't get a picture of Sanji like they could with the rest of the Straw Hats. I mean, even Sogeking got one, and he's not even here right now. Sanji is naturally devastated. I mean, he's one of the only male Straw Hats who takes any pride in how they look physically, and he has the least appealing bounty poster, I think, ever. And for the rest of the scene, we just see him fighting his demons in the background. An episode later, it is revealed that Sanji's picture was actually taken, but Attach, the Marine's cameraman, left the lens cap on, which he did not realize until he submitted the photos to be made into bounty posters. Flash forward, by a lot, to episode 386, where the Straw Hats meet Cammy and Papagu, who are running away from these slavers called the Flying Fish Raiders, who attacked the Straw Hats, who had already kidnapped Hachi, who the audience would know from the Arlong Park arc, and who is now helping Cammy and Papagu escape, led by a mysterious metal masked man named Duval, who apparently has had his life ruined by one of the Straw Hats. The Straw Hats, to protect their new friends, engage in a battle against them. It turns out that Duval doesn't actually care about the slave trade, and is actually just after the Straw Hats, particularly Sanji, who for some reason he has an exceptionally strong hatred for. Duval goes on and on about how Sanji ruined his life, And Sanji really has to think, what did I do to this guy? It was apparently recent, too, so when did I meet this guy and what did I do? He attacks Sanji, who's on the boat, in a blind rage, which leads him open to attack. And Luffy takes advantage of this, hitting Duval right in his mask, knocking it off. Before doing this, commenting that it's a face they've all seen before. And we finally arrive at the scene in question. Duval's crew freaks out, because Duval never takes off that mask, for it hides his horrifically scarred face. The Straw Hats all pause, witnessing his horrific deformity. Frankie even begins to cry as Duval starts to rant, saying how Sanji ruined his life by getting that bounty poster, and how he's been hunting Sanji down for revenge, as everybody confuses him for Sanji due to how similar they look. Duval begins to tear up, and we finally get a clear look at his face, as he declares, "This truly is one of the saddest scenes in One Piece." It turns out, the face on Sanji's bounty poster is just a real guy! This dude's life was ruined because a photographer forgot his lens cap was on. Sanji is naturally pissed, bro. He just runs up to Duval and he kicks his shit in, caving in his face, saying he doesn't even care that Duval's life has been ruined. The Straw Hats begin commenting on how similar Duval and Sanji look. Zoro even saying they're mere images. Sanji is in complete and utter despair and anger, and Brook makes this infinitesimally worse by doing this. We then get Duval's backstory, where we learn that he was an ordinary mafia man who tormented his hometown, before being confused with Sanji and forced to go on the run from the Marines. So immediately, all sympathy you had is thrown out the window because it's established that this dude sucks, and we shouldn't be sympathetic to him. Sanji and Duval then begin their final battle, which is literally cinema. Kaido versus Luffy, Lucci versus Luffy, Duval versus Sanji is my new favorite fight. Their battle concludes with Sanji kicking Duval repeatedly in the face in a barrage of attacks, which was established in Enies Lobby against Wanzi, handsome Squidward's whoever he does it to. And Duval's entire facial structure has changed, and now he's fabulous! He's now eternally grateful to Sanji, and their conflict ends. Alright, well, on to the analysis! Okay, what was that?
Finally, we meet One Piece Boy.
Who are you? Like, seriously, the fuck?
You ruined my life.
So you're just gonna talk over me.
Whenever I go outside, people think I am you, and ask me, when's your next video going to be out? Talk about One Piece. I'm gonna kill you and stuff you in my closet, and I'm sick of it.
So, you're just gonna try to kill me?
Yee.
Well, that seems like a little bit of a leap in logic.
Shut up, you mid-ass YouTuber. Oh shit, he dodged. Ouch, my fucking face.
Oh, I didn't just hurt your face. Why don't you take a look in the mirror?
Wait, I don't look any different.
Later.
And you just go in here, and we're good. Phew. That was exhausting. Alright, let's get to the analysis. The reason this scene hits so hard comedy-wise is due to the amount of layers in the joke, mainly due to how Oda plays the long game in terms of the punchline. I have no doubt in my mind that when Sanji's bounty poster was made to look that way, Duval was definitely already in Oda's mind. It also expands on an already funny thing. Sanji's bounty poster already had a joke connected to it. A first-time viewer would just think, oh, the joke is that Sanji, the dude who cares the most about his appearance, has the ugliest bounty poster in the entire crew. But no, the joke is expanded on through Duval's existence. Having a dude who just one-to-one looks exactly like the sketch is so out there and absurd that it fits perfectly with the wacky screwball comedy of One Piece. And due to its length from the initial reveal of Sanji's bounty poster, it hits the viewer out of nowhere and therefore is way funnier than if it came, for example, an episode or two away from the initial bounty reveal. Well, what am I building up to with all of this? I think it's time for the... So with all of the Duval stuff in mind, I would like to go back to the original question I posed at the beginning of this video. Why is One Piece still around 26 years after it released? And I think I know why. It's due to how much Oda cares about the quality. Duval is just a small example of what Oda does when he writes. He put in a clear effort to make this joke pay off well. And Oda treats everything in One Piece, the emotional writing, the manga panels art, and yes, the comedy, with that same amount of effort and quality. Other shows might have more fleshed out power systems, or more complex fight scenes and animation, but I've yet to see a show that has that same level of consistent quality writing as even One Piece's smallest bits of comedy, proving that One Piece's spot as one of the biggest animes is well deserved. Hey, this is unrelated to the entirety of the rest of the video. I just wanted to quickly say thank you for like 1,000 subs. That's mental to me. Like, what? Like I can actually like do this like for money now because of your guys' support. So like, thank you a lot. It's really cool. It's freaking unreal, man. All right. See ya.